where you're fishing all day and you get this splash and you go to set the hook and the fish isn't there. And this is happening to you all day long. A lot of cases it's not necessarily because you're not setting the hook quick enough or fast enough. It could be because the fish is coming up and looking at it and biting at it and then at the last second changing their mind. And that's called a refusal. A lot of times if you're fishing out of a boat and it's clear water, you can see refusals even though there may not necessarily be a splash. So you'll be sitting there and you'll see your fly and you'll actually see a fish come up from the depths. They'll look at your fly and they'll turn around and go back. That's a classic refusal, and unless you're up above looking down, you don't necessarily see that happening. But it's kind of cool in a boat when you see that. And then okay, I don't quite have the fly that they want, so you might want to switch it up.
Usually, the fly's too big. It's very rare that we put on a fly that's too small. If we look at the insects in the air, and they look much bigger in the air than they are when you hold them in your hand. So normally, if you're getting refusals, what I tell people do is put that same pattern on, smaller. And that quite often does the trick.
So with some of the cool stuff about dry fly fishing, you guys probably already know this since you're intermediate, but there's just so many different, the entomology of it's just so cool. There's so many different things you can fish. You can fish, like, you probably can't even see them from there, but we got these tiny flies that we fish, the Griffith's gnat that we fish, that represent, maybe midge or midge clusters, and out west you can catch some pretty big fish on just something that tiny. Of course, right now we're about going into the hex hatch. You get these big monster hexes. There might even be like, these club sandwich hopper patterns that really don't look like a grasshopper, but they're kind of like a grasshopper. There's just so much stuff. And the reason why we want you guys to get tight loops is so that you can throw something like this in the wind. If you've ever fished the Yellowstone River, the wind blows all day long. And a lot of times, when you're fishing hoppers and you're trying to catch big fish, you're throwing something like this that's wind resistant into these 30, 40 mile an hour winds on the Yellowstone River. So if you get good at casting and you get tight loops, you don't care if the wind's blowing that fast because you can still do it. So that's why we want you guys to get proficient with your casting, so you can fish in places like that, circumstances like that. Any other questions?
Good job.
All right.
Thank you, Jim.